So you would like a complete guide to mosaic materials? Well, you're in the right place. I'm Helen Miles and I'm here to teach you all the tips and tricks you need to make mosaics. This is going to be a complete guide to mosaic materials. So we're going to be looking at traditional materials that you can buy from mosaic suppliers, as well as slightly less traditional ones, and also super weird ones. So we're going to cover the whole range. There's quite a lot, and I don't doubt that I might forget some, but I think this gives you a really good idea of what kind of materials there are available for mosaics, and to help you think outside the box so you just don't assume that you have to go to a shop and spend lots of money. Let's start off by looking at easy to find, purpose-made mosaic supplies that you can find at almost any mosaic shop. So first of all, you have glass, and then you have the unglazed ceramic or porcelain tiles, which are normally made by Winckelmans, but you can also use sinker tiles. Actually, Winckelmans are more common in Europe and sinker in America. So the glass comes in a range of colours, quite a broad range of colours, and lots of lovely colours. It's relatively inexpensive, and it comes on paper mounted sheets like this, which you just have to soak in water and the paper comes off. And you can buy just a little, so this is a quarter sheet, but you can also buy a half sheet and a whole sheet, depending obviously on how much you need. And there are different qualities different grades of the glass. So as I said, some of it's really very modestly priced. But you can also go up a notch and buy this Mexican glass, which comes in a range of different colours. So they're quite unusual colours, quite different from the vitreous glass here. And they are a bit more expensive and slightly more difficult to find. These are the Winckelmans tiles. And they come in 20 square millimeters or in 24, the larger one. The larger one doesn't have such a great range of colours, and both of them are very muted and kind of earthy. And again, you usually have a ridged side and a plain side, although these have plain on both sides, and I'm not sure whether these are just my old stock, or whether all of them on the larger side are like that. As for the colours, this colour chart that I made a while ago gives you an idea of the colours. So the lovely thing about Winckelmans is they do also have these lovely speckly colours. So depending on your mosaic supply shop, you'll be able to get most of these colours. Compared to glass, the Winckelmans is a bit more expensive, so it does depend on the colour with the glass. So I would say the Winckelmans can be about 50% more, double the price of glass if you're going for the cheapest range of glass. And sometimes if you get super cheap glass, it might be that the differential is even greater. The other material which is commonly used for mosaics is a type of compressed glass called Smalti, and it comes in an almost infinite range of colours. So this is just a fraction of the range of colours that you can buy. It is a type of glass that's been used since Byzantine times, and it is pricey. So you can buy it either in round shapes, flat shapes called pizzas, and these are just parts of pizzas, or most commonly you can buy it in these little rectangular brick shapes. And you can get it as in mixed colours like these, so different shades of pink, and of course you can get single colours. And you can find it at any of your standard mosaic suppliers, but it is costly. And the lovely thing about Smalti as well is you can also get actual gold Smalti, gold and silver, and this greeny gold and coppery gold. And what they do is they make the glass tile, and then they put a very thin layer of gold on top of it and then another layer of glass. So although that looks as if the gold is right on top, in fact it's protected by another layer of glass, so that of course it's very robust and can be put outside and used in mosaics in all kinds of ways. But of course that is even more expensive. And I'm also a sucker for Mexican Smalti. So this is a beautiful material. It's not as thick often as the Smalti bricks, the ones from Orsoni or from Donna. So it can often be cut with normal nippers. And once again, you can get combined colours, mixes like this. So this is a dark blue range. Here in the UK, you have to order it, I think, as far as I know, you can only order it from America. It's Mexican Smalti, so I'm sure you could order it directly from Mexico. And it's very expensive, partly because you have to pay taxes on it when it arrives in the country. Once you start delving into the world of specialist mosaic supplies and looking on websites and seeing all the wonderful things they have, you'll realise there's quite a lot to choose from. So glass nuggets are often very popular. These other different kinds of glass, this is translucent glass. And then you have these fake gold tiles, which I sometimes use. They're quite handy actually, and obviously a lot cheaper. And then mirrored glass as well is a popular option. But just have a look and you'll realise that there are lots and lots of different things, and they vary greatly in price. Ordinary domestic tiles like these ones for bathrooms and kitchens are also perfect. They have to be cut in a different way with a tile cutter that you get from a tile supplier. And they can also be cut with nippers depending if they're thin enough. And they're very an inexpensive option. In fact, if you go along to the tile suppliers, you can ask if they have any broken ones from former displays, and often they have a great big box, like a kind of skip outside, where you can just pick all the tiles that you want. Then there's marble. I'm a big fan of marble. So you buy marble in these rods. They can be up to a metre long, and then you cut them down with a hammer and hardy or with nippers. I'm very lucky that I have access to a marble supplier in Greece who will cut mine down to 5 millimetres deep, whereas normally marble rods are 1 centimetre, 10 millimetres thick. Just the 5 millimetre one means that you can cut it directly and very easily with nippers. So marble is quite soft to use. And of course the colours change enormously when you dampen them or put the sealant on at the end of the process. So, you know, they look quite dull, but they're actually they're not vibrant is the wrong word, but they're quite rich colours. Marble is more difficult to get hold of though, and not all mosaic suppliers, certainly in the UK, supply it. I know that Lawrence Payne does, of Roman Mosaic Workshops, so I will link his website into the description below, and I'm sure over in the States and in Australia you'll be able to find it. Now let's look at items that you're likely to have around the house. So broken china is obviously a very well-known material for mosaic, and is brilliant in every way. First of all, that it's broken and therefore can't be used for anything else. Also because you just get these incredible patterns and colours. And you also have the satisfaction of knowing that something that might have very personal significance can carry on having a new life in a mosaic. The only thing I would say about using ceramics like these in mosaics is if they're going to be outside, you need to be a little bit careful. So bone china patterns will withstand frost, but transfer wear will start to peel and fade quite quickly, especially if you live in a country where you have quite severe winters. The other thing to consider is old hardware. So old nails, bolts, washers, screws, anything like that. I love it when it's got all rusty in the back of a shed. These are just beautiful mottled oranges on the rust on that nail. Keys are good, a bit shiny perhaps, but they'll soon unshine when they've been outdoors for a bit. So they're an option and a lovely way to use up something that would have no use once you've moved house or the lock has been changed. Beads and buttons from old costume jewellery and things you've broken years ago but can't quite bring yourself to throw away also make really good additions. Single-use plastics, they are a brilliant thing to use in mosaics, and pretty much all of us have plenty of it at home, unfortunately. So bottle tops, these are old medical waste, wiring. There's an amazing artist called Francesca Busca who is based in London, who uses wiring and crisp packets and all kinds of rubbish to make extraordinary artworks. So she's well worth looking up. Even these little irritating plastic pulls that come off the top of bottles. So have a look around you and see what you can find. They make great long-lasting additions to mosaic work. Now let's look at things that you can easily find when you're out on a country walk. Even if you live in a town, there's plenty of examples of these. So these are old, well, they're not old, they're dried beech nut casings, twigs, bits of fungus. So what I do when I'm using natural materials like this is that I'll put them in the oven at an incredibly low setting, let's say 50 centigrade, for several hours, just to suck all the moisture out of them so they don't degrade once they've been added to your mosaic. Shells, everyone loves a shell, and they are so rich and varied and interesting to look at. The thing I would say about shells though is they need a very, very good wash before you use them in mosaics. So I rinse and then leave to soak, and then rinse, leave to soak, maybe 3 times. Just you want all the salt residue gone so that it doesn't seep into the tile adhesive. The other thing about shells is, of course, you have to be careful about where you take them and be very, very sensitive to the area that you're in, and obviously never take a shell if it has anything living within it. Pebbles fall into the same category, so it's just lovely to pick up pebbles on the beach or when you're on a country walk. But in some areas, collecting pebbles is prohibited, and especially on beaches. So by all means, I'm sure I collect them, everyone collects them, but just don't take gazillions of them. That's all I would say. Beach ceramic is a really lovely material if you're lucky to live near a beach where you find these little bits of old ceramic that have been worn by the waves. Some of them still have the patterns on, and even the ones that don't have these lovely worn, gentle, soft shapes. It all depends where you live and what the tides are like, but some beaches have loads of them, so you can always ask around, and it's worth making a day trip because there's no prohibition on picking up these. And if you can get a bag full, it's well worth the journey. Rocks and brick. It's all around us, and a lot of it is absolutely fantastic for mosaics. Obviously, you're going to need a hammer and hardy to cut it. So some of these softer sandstones, however, are easier to cut than other types of stone. So what I do is just collect anything I think might be interesting and then give it a go when I get back to the studio. And if it isn't breakable, then nothing lost. Slate is a fantastic material to use for mosaic. So it can be machine cut into shapes, onto rods like these, and it can also be cut with a hammer and hardy or with a chisel going down in between the strata, is that the right word? Into the layers of the slate. You can use roof tiles, you can go to old slate mines and slate areas and collect it, and also it can be bought. So this is just a quick digression about materials in general. These are road markings. You know obviously the yellow lines you get on roads? Well, they were starting to come off in a road in Edinburgh. and so they're actually really hard, and they've got these lovely colours, and I love the fact that they have a specific purpose and they come from a specific place. So keep your eyes peeled. All around you, you will notice things, and you can pick them up and you can use them in mosaic. And finally, this is a really cool one. These are little patés of dried tile adhesive with pigment added. And so basically, when you get to the end of a project and you've got too much tile adhesive, you just spread a thin layer over a plastic sheet, wait till it dries, and then it's fantastic. You can just chop it up and create really nice tesserae with it. If you like this video and you'd like to see more, then please subscribe below.